Hello everybody, my name is Hamdolsun. I'm a long-time Darktide player and Darktide Playtester. Today I want to talk about Hive Scum's talents mainly, and I just want to rate them from a scale of 0 to 10. Basically 0 being the worst, 10 being the best, and I want to talk about the applications for each talent and like how to use them in builds, what situations. So before we start, I would like to say I'm really sorry for my voice. I'm really sick and my throat hurts, so I will be pausing the video and to like cough and drink water. Um, Other than that, English is not my first language, so please excuse me if I make any mistakes. I'm sorry about that. But other than that, if you want to get more in-depth technical knowledge about every single talent, I suggest checking out Kuli's guides. I will probably drop a link in the comment section or like description below. And at the end of this video, I will be dropping 3 builds for each one of these abilities for you to try it out for yourself and see if you like them, change them around a bit, do whatever you want with them. But I hope you enjoy the builds and I hope you enjoy the video. So let's start by talking about our first talent, In Your Face. So, In Your Face is a really good talent. What it does is, as long as you have your range weapon out, you will get a minimum of 10% damage. This is a global damage, by the way. This will increase your range damage, this will increase your dot damage, or whatever other damage you have at the screen currently, this will increase it. And basically what it does is, when you're 30 meters away, like so, it will start, when you get closer to the enemy, it will start scaling linearly up to 25% damage at 12.5 meters, which is close range, right? And this will be where you will deal 25% more damage with each one of your dot damage, your range damage. It's really good talent. I would definitely pick this up. It's really good. It's a solid 9 out of 10, maybe even 10 out of 10 talent. You should pick this up for every range build. Second, Sticky Hands, 40% weapon swap speed. Additionally, you gain minus 10% recoil and minus 30% spread while firing from the hip or bracing. So this talent is a really solid talent. It's really good for reducing time to shoot when you're pulling out certain range weapons, and it's really good for when you want to play with auto guns, auto pistols, dual auto pistols, stub pistols. These types of weapons with like fast shooting. And other than that, it's also really good to put this in when you have QQ cancelable weapons that benefit they benefit a lot from QQ canceling. For example, double barrel shotgun, for example, bolt pistol. These guns are really good when you QQ cancel, and they scale really hard with weapon swap speed stacking. So keep that in mind. It's a solid 7 out of 10 talent. I would pick this in most ranged builds. A Tertium Welcome. Plus 15% melee damage on first enemy hit with each attack. So this one is quite good for any melee build. Basically, it increases the first guy you hit with every single attack. It increases your melee damage on him. It doesn't increase dots, but it increases your melee damage itself. It's a 15% additive melee damage. It stacks additively with other melee damage sources, and it stacks multiplicatively with power sources, strength. So it's a really good pick. It's a must pick for melee builds. I would say it's a solid 8 out of 10. Voice of Tertium and Precision Violence, I'm gonna group both of them together, with this one being better, but I'd like to talk about something about them. So Voice of Tertium, 8% toughness on ranged kill and 15% toughness on elites and specials. So remember that if you use a gun like needle pistol, or let's say you use something like a flechette shotgun, and you get the kills with your damage over time effect, this won't proc, so you won't get any toughness back. Keep that in mind. And for needle pistol, this is almost useless. Don't pick this. But for normal range builds, this is really good. It's a solid 8 out of 10 talent, 9 out of 10, I mean. And it's basically like one of the 2 main talents that you can pick on Hive Scum to get toughness back. So next talent, Precision Violence. Melee hits replenish 4% toughness, crits and weak spot hits 8%, and crit weak spot strikes 12%. It's a must-have, 10 out of 10. It's your melee sustained toughness generation. You basically have to have this talent in 99% of all builds, and it's really just straightforward. Take this like whenever you see it. Pretty much, it's a must pick. So next talent, Speed Loader. 30% reload speed for 8 seconds on close range kill. So close range kill means you have to kill an enemy with ranged damage, so no dots. And you need to be at least 12.5 meters. You need to be closer than 12.5 meters away from an enemy. This is really good on pretty much like 80%, 90% of ranged builds. It's really good. As I said, it's not really gonna work well with Needle Pistol. Anything that says close ranged kill or ranged kill won't work with Needle Pistol. Just keep that in mind. At least most of them. And so this one is quite good. I would give this a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. It's really good for range builds. You can use it for your melee builds as well if you want to like pull out and shoot and like just go back to your melee if you want. I wouldn't probably invest in this with melee builds, but keep that in mind. So moving target. Gain +1 effective dodges while wielding a ranged weapon. I think this is a pretty bad talent. I couldn't find any use for it myself. I've never really picked this one. It's a waste of a point if you ask me. It's like 2 out of 10 because there are worse things in this tree. I'm moving on. So, float like a butterfly. Perfect blocks and successful dodges grant +20% crit chance for 3 seconds. Really good talent. Perfect blocks won't happen too much, but successful dodges will happen all the time. Because you will see later when we have our like immunity talents is actually the talents that make you dodge versus a certain damage type. So they will proc any talent like this that will proc on successful dodges. So this is gonna be up for like a solid 60-70% of your gameplay, and 20% crit chance is a crazy amount of crit chance. It's gonna work for every build. I would suggest specking into this for like 99% of the builds. It's a solid 10 out of 10. I would pick this one. The only bad thing about this talent is it's low duration. But as I said, it can be remedied pretty easily, so take it. So calling for a timeout. -25% toughness damage taken while reloading and for 4 seconds afterwards. This is a really good talent for ranged builds, especially the ones that like to mag dump, the ones that use a shotgun. Especially for shotguns, this is crazy good because putting your special shell is considered reloading. And I would use this with a good 60-70% of range builds. You can try it out for yourself. This class is lacking toughness damage. So this class is lacking toughness damage reduction, so it's a good thing to have. I would pick this in range builds. It's a solid 7 out of 10. Because it doesn't fit every build, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. 25% toughness, 10 out of 10. It's a must pick. you literally cannot proceed further without picking this. Untouchable. Sprinting for 1 second grants -12.5% threat for 3 seconds and it stacks 4 times. So, successful dodges refresh the duration. So, here is what this talent does. Threat is basically the enemy's way of targeting you. And getting this means you'll basically be at -60% threat for like the entirety of the game. And what that does is it forces the enemies to not target you and target your teammates instead. The threat is a really hard to explain mechanic, so I'm not gonna be going into too detail of it. Think about it as like just enemies not targeting you less. This, keep in mind, will make your teammates have a much less enjoyable time, because this means the enemies will ignore you, go through you sometimes. Poxbursters can be a big threat with this, because they will not target you, so you will try to push them and you will not be able to. Keep that in mind. But it's good for when you want to like just push the range enemies, when you want to just get behind the enemy backline. It's really nice. I would give this a solid 6 out of 10. So, Blackout Blitz, it's the improved version of the base flashbang. I'm not going to talk about base flashbang, but this one I'm going to talk about. So every 20 kills at close range generates 1 grenade. This means melee or range kills, by the way. If you get damage over time kills, it won't count. And that's like the biggest problem with this one. Just keep that in mind. You can have up to 5 grenades. and this grenade can stagger everything except muties, Rinda Karnak, monstrosities, and captains with the shield up. So keep that in mind. You can use this as a bailout tool. It has a 2-point-something meter range epicenter, and it has like a 3.5 meter radius. So when you throw it, this will bail you out of a lot of situations. It's really useful, and I like to combine this with a talent that I'll talk about when we get to it later in the talent tree. It's solid. I give this a solid 8 out of 10. It has its jank mechanics. Sometimes it doesn't proc well on bulwarks. Sometimes the flashbang decides to slide and like blow up somewhere else. Sometimes it doesn't stagger, and the crusher that you were supposed to stagger this with, it will give this crusher the stagger immunity frames. It's sometimes very annoying, but most of the time it works. 8 out of 10. So Boombringer, high-powered missile launcher. So unfortunately, I am not the biggest fan of this one, because when you think about this talent, its biggest competition is veterans crack grenades. But here's the thing about crack grenades. Crack grenades, you can have more of them. You can generate them. You can basically throw them as much as you can. You can get up to like 100, 150 crack grenades per game. And also, you can have like sub-nodes. You can have like other talents that increase your crack grenade damage to be able to one-shot crushers on Havoc 40. So unfortunately, Boombringer like doesn't one-shot Havoc 40 crushers, and it only has 2 charges, 3 if you pick up a talent that we will talk about later, and it doesn't regenerate. So I don't think it's that good. Its damage is lackluster. I think it should do more damage or have special subnodes so we can pick them up and like do interesting things with them. But at its current form, I'm thinking this is like at best 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10. So chem grenade. Wow, this grenade. So you throw a chem toxin grenade, right? And it has a really big radius. Like not as big as like the immo grenade, but I would like to show it to you. So as you can see, it's still quite big, and what it does is in this area, enemies that are standing in this will take +1 toxin stack per 0.35 seconds. So if I toss it on the enemies like this, you'll see that they will start getting toxin stacks, and it will stop at 6 stacks. And what happens is, as long as they are in this area, they will always be at 6 stacks, and when they decide to leave, they will get an additional +1 stack of toxin. So that's like 7. And as long as they're inside this area, they have -50% hit mass, so I can easily cleave through them. You see? Did you see that? I'll do it again. I can't cleave through this guy's head without that buff, but now I can, as you can see. It makes your cleave buffs go crazy. You can go nuts in this area. This will kill a lot of things. This will melt armor. It's an incredibly solid grenade. It's pretty overpowered. I'll say use it whenever you can. It's a solid... I mean, I will give it a 10 out of 10. Sorry about the breaks, by the way. As I said, I'm sick. I'm so sorry. So Gang Tough, 10% range damage, 10% toughness damage reduction, 10 out of 10. It's a mandatory node. Just grab it. So regain posture, 10% stamina on successful dodge. So this does proc on most immunity effects. It also procs on like things like strip down, and it also procs on things like ghost. It's consistent on everything except strip down, and for strip down, for it to work, you have to be running at the exact same time the shooters start to shoot you. So it's a little jank. So it's not infinite stamina and like not infinite range immunity when you're stripped down. So you cannot just like run it like this and just be immune to range fire. But it's still a pretty good talent. If I had an extra talent point on my builds, I would pick it up, but you can try it and see for yourself. It doesn't have a innate cooldown, so it will always proc on every single successful dodge you get. It's really good, but I can't fit this on my builds, so I will give this a solid 7 out of 10. Try it for yourself, see how you feel about it, yeah? So Nimble. Dodges are extended by 25%. This is distance, by the way, dodge distance. And time considered dodging by 50%. This talent is an 11 out of 10. Probably the most broken talent in this entire talent tree. Why? Because extended dodges mean, I will try to quickly demonstrate. So this is how much I will dodge without nimble on shifts. And this is how much I will dodge with nimble. So as you can see, it's a huge difference when you're fighting in melee combat. It basically allows you to fly. It literally makes you faster than running if you just spam dodges back to back. And its best ability is, normally this class is dodge linger time, which is the time you're considered dodging versus melee attacks. So let's say the smaller wants to overhead me and I dodged. After my dodge is over, I get a 0.25 seconds of immunity to his, basically, I will dodge his melee attack, right? I will not eat the overhead. So what Nimble does is it increases that time to 0.375, and that is an insane increase. On top of the extended dodges, it's a crazy talent. You should always pick this up. 11 out of 10, pick this. Slippery Customer. While sliding, gain melee attack immunity. So this means while you're doing the slide animation, like while you're in this animation, if something was to melee hit you, you would dodge the attack. So it will proc the on dodge talents like your crit chance. It will proc the on dodge talents like quick and deadly later. I'd say it's solid. It's really good to close gaps. It basically invalidates the small trash as long as you keep sliding. I don't really use it too much myself because I feel like I don't get a melee hit often when I'm sliding. But if you feel like you do, I would say this is a very, very, very worthy pickup. I would give this a solid 7 out of 10. It's a quite nice talent to have, but because the tree is very point strict, I can't pick this up. But you can give it a shot. So, like the wind, 15% sprint dodge angle. In addition, sprint dodging is available when stamina is depleted. So, what sprint dodging means is, if you run at an angle towards gunners, from gunners, right? So, let me try to demonstrate. So let's say you have a gunner shooting you. Come on, dude. So if you run at a... Okay, well, it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but if you run at a certain angle like this, let's say the gunner is shooting me right now, I would be dodging all of his bullets. That increases that dodge angle by 50%. I think it's very worthless. Like, it's not something you should ever pick up. I'm giving this like a 1 out of 10. It's really, really bad. Don't pick this up, guys. G3. Plus 40% dodge recovery speed while stamina is above 75%. So dodge recovery speed is how fast your dodges reset. And, well, this is quite nice because this basically reduces that time from 0.8 something seconds to 0.51 seconds. And that's an insane decrease, so you can just keep dodging while you're in the front line. And it's a good combination with Regained Posture if you want to pick that up. It's really good. Always pick this up, like I said, a solid 9 out of 10. So, cheap shots. 15% damage against enemies that are fully staggered. So, this talent is a little hard to explain. Fully staggered means something has to be staggered fully. Like basically when they're knocked down on their arses, right? So let's say you staggered them with explosions, and like you staggered them with force abilities, like voice of command, like your rampage shout. I will come to that in a bit. Those abilities will fully stagger an enemy, and they will always have this damage buff. But if the enemy, there are like other criteria for the enemy to be considered heavy staggered. Like for example, this talent is great when you're using the bone saw and when you're using the crowbar, because this attack, this heavy attack, is considered to be a full stagger, because just like Eviscerator is also the same. When they are caught up in this attack, they are considered fully staggered, so you'll do the 15% more damage. And I would say keep that in mind if you want to make a melee build involving Bonesaw and Crowbar, but it only works on their heavy attacks really, so I think it's not really that good of a talent. I wouldn't pick this up that much. Like, I would give this a 4 out of 10. It's really not that good, but you can think about it if you want. So let's come down to the auras. Gunslinger improved. When an ammo pickup is collected by you or allies in coherency, you each replenish ammo equal to 10% of that pickup. So basically, you pick something up, you pick like a small ammo pickup or big ammo pickup, you get the percentage you would get from the ammo pickup, and then on top of that you get an extra 10%. So it's good for you because you'll get more ammo, and everybody in your coherency will also get more ammo, 10% more ammo. So it's really good. I would say it's a solid aura. It's a solid 8 out of 10, but some talents that I will talk about later in this line will make this irrelevant for you mostly. It's still a good teammate help talent, so if you want to, like, let's say you have an Ogre with Rumbler, or you have, I don't know, your Veteran with Plasma Rifle, etc., etc., or you have a Bolter Zealot, this will help them keep up their ammo a lot more efficiently. It's a good aura. It's an 8 out of 10. So Ruffian, plus 10% melee damage for you and allies in coherency. It's an additive melee damage bonus. It's not that good compared to the other two. I would say it's a solid 5 out of 10. It's really nothing special. Anarchist, 5% crit chance for you and allies in coherency. It's a Psycho aura. It's always good. I would say it might be the best for most builds for this class. It's a solid 9 out of 10 because I value crit chance a lot. But as I said, if you want to help your teammates gain ammo, Gunslinger Improved is your other choice. Think about that. But this enables a lot of crit synergies. This enables a talent to be like more consistent that I'm going to talk about later, which is absolutely crazy. It's really good. I would pick this in most of my builds. So, long lasting, plus 5%, plus 5 seconds of stim duration. So normally, when you cook up a stim in Stim Lab, it has a 15-second cooldown, right? This increases that to 20 seconds. It also increases the stims from, like, if you don't have any stim lab cooked up. It also increases the basic stims by 5 seconds. But the problem with this is when you pick this up, the stim won't start gaining cooldown back until its effect is fully depleted. And this makes it so you will have to wait an extra 5 seconds before your stim starts to come back. So now comes the question, right? Without this, with only 15 seconds of my stim, can I not deal with the threat that I'm currently facing right now? Me personally, I would like to use a 15-second stim and then get my next stim quicker, so I have another stim for when another opportunity or like necessity arises. And I generally don't pick up the stand for that reason. But if you like your stims to be a little bit longer, it's a solid pick. I would give this a solid 6 out of 10. If the interaction gets fixed, I will give this a solid 9 out of 10. 25% toughness, you always want to pad to this. This class is lacking TDR, this class is lacking toughness, this class is lacking toughness gain. So if you want to survive on this class, make sure you snipe every single 25 toughness node. So one here, you always want to pick them. 10 out of 10. Bless stims. While stimmed, your kills clear 1% corruption and up to 50% per stim. So this is very situational. This will be great on Havoc runs where you have things like Tox Gas, you have Blight, you have Rotten Armor. This will be good, but especially for Blight spreads, it's really, really good. But other than that, it's very situational and you won't find much use for this in base game and like Oryx and below, or in lower Havocs. And honestly, the Stim Supply Ultimate and the Zealot with Corruption Cleansing Aura is going to do much better for your overall team than you picking this. So I generally don't pick this. I would give this a 4 out of 10. And one of the main reasons why I'm giving this such a low score is because it cannot cleanse your wounds. So it can only cleanse up to a wound, like every other corruption cleansing source. So it's a 4 out of 10. Now time for abilities. Enhanced Desperado. So what this talent does is, when you press your ability, it swaps to a range weapon, reloads it, and then you gain this ability's buffs for 10 seconds. For the duration, you are suppression immune. You cannot be hit by range attacks, which means you are dodging every single range attack. That means you are proccing on dodge effects, like a butterfly, for example, or quick and deadly. And you won't use any reserve ammo, and you don't use any stamina when you're running, and you get 20% more sprint speed. And when you kill enemies in close range, which is 12.5 meters, you will get 1 second of extended duration on the ability effect, and after 20 seconds it becomes diminished, and 20, and then like if I remember correctly, like 30, 40, it becomes less and less and less effective on replenishing your ultimate duration. And the cooldown is 45 seconds. It's a crazy good ability. I would give this a 9 out of 10. It works really well with most fast fighting weapons. It works really well with shotguns. It's quite good. It's quite good. I'd give this a 9 out of 10. I would say give this a shot if you want to play a power fantasy build with dual auto pistols and just like shoot the entire game. It's really good. Pick your targets. Now I'm going to talk about the ability modifiers for this ability. 1 second. So pick your targets. Gain 15% rending for range attacks while you have the ability active. And additionally, when you kill highlighted enemies, you also get 3% range damage, stacking 5 times. This is a solid 7 out of 10. It's very useful for dealing with armor. It's very useful for dealing with crusher waves because this allows you to magnum crushes together with your stim, which I will talk about in the build section. The extra bit of range damage is really nice. Keep in mind, you're gonna be, if you can kill the enemies close to you, you're gonna be keeping this buff for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So this is an insane buff for that. I would say it's pretty good. I would say pick this up. Focus to resolve. Killing highlighted enemies restores 0.5 second ability cooldown. Recent special skills restore 1 second. 5 seconds max cooldown restored. I think this is really underwhelming. I wish we had better this talent to be better, or I wish we had this like basically enemies refreshing kills gets nerfed a little bit, so we can buff this a little bit to balance it out. I would like to have more uses of my ability instead of my ability lasting for forever, because I think it makes the ability a little busted. In its current form, this is still good because it's 5 second cooldown. I mean, you'll be shooting your gun when you have this ability active, so you'll generally get 5 seconds off. But going down from 45 to 40, and like let's say you have 12% ability cooldown reduction on your curios, you will get to like 35. I guess it's nice to have 5 seconds of your ability, but I don't use it too much. It's a skill point after all, so I'll give this like a 5 out of 10. So now we talk about Rampage. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, when you press F, let's say you were at 0 toughness, it will fully restore your toughness the moment you go into Desperado. It's really useful for that. Rampage. You replenish all toughness and enter Rampage for 10 seconds, and for the duration, you get insane melee buffs. 50% melee power, 20% melee attack speed, 25% damage reduction, you're immune to stuns, you're immune to suppression, you're immune to slowdowns, and every single time you hit something with your strike, it extends your duration by 0.3 seconds, and after 20 seconds, the extended becomes diminished. It drops slowly as well. Like after 20 seconds, it's like 0.2, if I remember correctly, then 0.1 at 40, and beyond, and like it keeps dropping. And when you exit Rampage, you lose all stamina. Keep this in mind because this is what gets people killed. And you become exhausted for 7 seconds. In this period, you take 25% extra damage, and you have a minus 75% stam regen speed. And you have a 30-second cooldown. Keep in mind, for both Desperado and Rampage, the cooldown of the actual ability starts regening after you finish your ability effect. So while you're when you're like replenishing the effect, you won't be getting cooldown back. Just keep that in mind. I think Rampage is a goated talent. I think it's damn good. I will give this a 10 out of 10. If you know how to play around Rampage's like bad parts, the buffs you get for it is crazy. You can get like 30 seconds, 40 seconds uptime, depending on how many enemies you can fight. It's really good. Now let's talk about the side nodes. Channel Digression. Heavy attacks gain 25% rending while duration of Rampage remains above 50%. So this is only 25% rending for heavy melee attacks. keep that in mind. It's still good. This will help you chew through Crusher Waves on Rotten Armor. So if you're planning on playing Havoc 40 Rotten Armor, I would say pick this up. But in regular gameplay, I don't think you need this at all. It's basically only for chewing Crusher Waves, and even without this, you'll do enough Crusher damage with Uncanny Strike especially, that you won't need that 25% extra rending for Rampage. I would still give this 4 out of 10 because it has its uses. As I said, like in Rotten Armor, or let's say you were doing a C1-6 Maelstrom. This would be fine, but I wouldn't use this otherwise. Boiling Blood. Melee strikes against elites and monstrosities extend the duration of Rampage by 1 second. Additionally, the time before extending becomes diminished is now 30 seconds. Crazy good. If you're picking Rampage, you're picking this 10 out of 10. Because this will basically allow you to just go hit elites. You can just like light attack spam them, and you'll get your ultimate duration back basically immediately. It's actually kind of insane just how good this is. I would say pick this up every single time you're going Rampage. 10 out of 10. Forge's Bellow. When Rampage is activated, unleash a powerful shout that staggers enemies and increases the time between their attacks by 50% for 5 seconds. And when you're exhausted, you shout again. So this is I think this is kind of niche. It's good, but it's kind of niche. So what this does is, when you press F, this basically turns your ability into Voice of Command Shout, and you will stagger everything around you in a radius. I can't remember the exact radius right now. And it basically makes you shout twice, and it inflicts a debuff to enemies, just like how an Arbiter's ability. I forgot its name right now. The Nuncio Killer, yeah. So it's kind of like similar to the subnode of Nuncio Killer. It debuffs the enemies, and what it does is it doesn't slow down the enemy attacks themselves, but it basically makes them Q attacks slower. It's good. I would give this a 5 to 6 out of 10. I don't think I would spend a point for this, but if you want to get some CC and you want to get some like ability to stagger and like ledge bosses, it's decent. My main problem with this is the fact that Rampage stays up for too long. Like, you can keep this thing for 40 seconds. So, like, by the time this shouts again, it won't be needed anymore. You will kill whatever you needed to kill with Rampage. So, Pulverizing Strikes. Plus 50% cleave while Rampage is active. Additionally, gain a plus 2.5% melee power for every second spent with the ability active up to 10 times. Really good ability. You will most likely be in this ability for more than 10 seconds, so you'll get the full 25% melee power buff. Also, you will get extra hit mass cleave and hit mass impact buffs. Basically meaning you can cleave more and your cleave can stagger more enemies. It's really nice. I generally pick this because it's such a good extra bit of melee power for my Rampage. I would give this a solid 9 out of 10. So next ability, Stim Supply. So this ability is a little weird. I'll try to explain what it does. You put a Medicrate on the ground, and it basically bolsters you and your allies. And when you're in the area of Medicae, you heal up to 40 corruption, 0.5 corruption per second, by the way, and you become immune to it. Becoming immune to it doesn't mean that attacks doing corruption won't do any damage to you. It will basically just negate the corruption part of the attack. So let's say a Poxbuster jumped you. It does 2 different damage types. One is like direct damage and one is corruption damage. This negates the corruption damage part, so you only eat the direct damage part of the attack. So things like dog jumps and staying in blight spreads pools won't give you any corruption because they don't do any direct damage. It's really good for those situations. Additionally, if you have a stim equipped and the stim is off cooldown, so you have the stim available, this ability will copy the effect and will give it to anybody who touches the Medicae area and stays in it. And that effect also stays for 15 seconds. And it's really good, considering if you have a good stim, you can just basically spread around to your teammates and they can all benefit from it. I think the main way to use this ability is to use the stim copy effect and utilize stim copy effect for ranged builds that cannot benefit too much from Desperado. What I mean by that is, for example, I have a shotgun build that I will be showing you guys that requires a lot of reload speed to function properly. So I utilized the crate with practice deployment of fast acting stims to basically cycle my reload stim as fast as I can to just keep shooting my shotgun, and it does a lot of damage. We will get into it later. So let's talk about the side notes. I will say the ability has its problems. It's jank sometimes to drop. The effect not staying unless you pick a sub note is really bad. I say it's like a 5 out of 10 ability. It definitely needs some changes. Fast acting stims. The duration of stim supply is shortened to 5 seconds, but its effect lingers after leaving its area for 15. So I say if you want to pick this talent, you should always pick this, because what it does is it makes the base medkit. By the way, the medkit ability stays on the ground for 20 seconds. This makes it stay for only 5, and it destroys the. After the medkit is destroyed, if you breathe in the effect, it stays on you for 15 seconds. So here's the thing though. The reason why I want you to always pick this is because the ability itself won't start regenerating its cooldown before the medkit on the ground gets destroyed. And normally you have to wait 20 seconds for that, which is a really long time. But this ability makes it despawn in 5 seconds, and so you get your ability, you get your cooldown back. So this is a 60-second cooldown, this makes it 45. It's really good for that. I would say give this a shot, it's really useful. It also makes you not have to sit in an area. You can just like pop your ulti, and then you can just walk through 2 billion corruption pools, and you'll be fine. It's really good for that. So I will give this a solid 7 out of 10. Pick this up if you have the stim supply. Booby Trap. Once its duration ends, stim supply explodes, inflicting nearby enemies with 7 stacks of chem toxin. So there's a build centered around this, where you have to pick all 3 of these and pick a really fast stim, only like 1 point into the stim lab, and you basically use your ability like a grenade, where it like does 7 blight stacks, and you just keep placing, and then 10 seconds after you get it back, and you place it, and then 10 seconds after you get it back. If you want to go for that playstyle, I say this is good, but otherwise it's a really lackluster one. Even though 7 stacks of chem toxin will kill like 90% of the enemies, this makes you, how do I say this, really defensive and offensive at the same time. It makes you stretch. And if you want to plan on using this like a regular boost, this won't work at all. It's like not that good. So I would say this is like a 4 out of 10. It can get much better if you go for like the specific build I was talking about, but I would say it's not worth it, really. Practice deployment. Once a stim becomes available to use, stim supply instantly becomes ready for deployment. It's really good if you have a stim that like has less cooldown than your stim supply, and you can generate with the talent that we're going to talk about later. Basically, if you have a fast cycling stim, or let's say you want to get like a, for example, let's say you want to get to like one top part of the stim really fast, you get to like here, and then you basically get your stim back, and you share the stim effect with your stim supply consistently. It's really useful. It's a solid 6 out of 10. It's basically what makes stim supply builds usable. Otherwise, the lower cooldown stims, don't pick this. So small notes, toxin strength, really nice if you have a toxin build. It's a solid 7 out of 10. It doesn't work at all if you don't have any toxin sources. Melee damage, just a basic melee damage node, 6 out of 10, just like Dora. Crit chance boost, 5% crit chance, it's a 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. Always take crit chance whenever you see it, it's really helpful. It's very easy to pick up in a spot where like you can get to here without any problem, and there's some like good talents down here. So let's talk about the left side of the talent tree. Ammo jack. 15% clip size rounded up. It's like the cheapest way to get to the next talent. Yeah, it's quite useful in ranged builds. It will make you shoot like a little bit more with dual auto pistols, with your auto guns. It's a solid 6 out of 10 talent. It works really well in ranged builds. It doesn't work at all in non-ranged builds. Quick and deadly. 15% close range damage for 3 seconds after a successful dodge. This is also decent, but unfortunately 3 seconds is such a low duration for this effect particularly. 20% crit chance is a really worth effect, even though it's only 3 seconds. This is more like, if you're going for a ranged build, you can pick this if you have a flex node available. I would say it's still good. I would give this, I guess, a 6 out of 10, because it still does something compared to some of the other talents. But I wouldn't pick this up every single time. Swift Endurance, plus 2% increased melee attack speed for each current stamina. Very good for melee builds. Basically, how it works is it takes into account your weapon's base stamina value, and then it basically counts the stamina bars you have. So let's say I have 1 plus 3 stamina here, and let's get on my shivs, and you'll see that I have 7 stamina bars. I mean, you can't really see it, but if I pick up that talent real quick, you'll see that I have a buff that says 7. That means I get 14% attack speed with just picking up that talent, which is really nice. And honestly, with this class, I suggest you run at least 1 stamina curio. So this is really good for most melee builds. It's really good for some range builds, like some hybrid builds. This is sold 8 out of 10. You should go for this if you have a melee build, especially. Pickpocket. Oh boy, pickpocket. I think this is. I know I said like the most broken talent here is like nimble, but pickpocket is infinite ammo, guys. You know, veteran, the class that has to get ammo from kills. Yeah, you don't need that with pickpocket. You just need to keep shooting until your bullets kill the lead or special, and then you get 20% of your reserve ammo back. Let's go. And even with like the weapons with like the lowest reserve pools, this is still basically infinite ammo. Like, you can bring this on melee builds just by investing 2 points into here. And what it would do is, it would make you basically be able to shoot your ranged weapon infinitely while you're still a melee god. It's a quite broken talent. I'm thinking they're gonna nerf this talent. It's like 15 out of 10, 20 out of 10. I don't know. I don't even know how to classify this one. But yeah, you should use this when you have a ranged build. You will basically never have to pick up an ammo cache in your life ever again. Hypercritical. So, hypercritical is only working on melee strikes, unfortunately. It doesn't work on range attacks. And right now, it is bugged. So, it really doesn't. It basically turns off like your melee hits and melee kills abilities. So I wouldn't pick this up at all. Until the hotfix comes, this is 0 out of 10, because it basically stops your main toughness gain. But if when the hotfix arrives, it's really good for crit scaling weapons like shivs. With like combat blades, it's really good for when you go for all the crit synergies in 3. And it's really good for basically anything. This will kill anything up to molars, including molars, instantly, pretty much, if you hit a crit on them, because weapons do a lot of damage in this game now. I would give this a 7 out of 10 if it was working. Sweet spot, plus 25% weak spot damage, is a little misleading. Weak spot damage is not exactly that much increased when you hit a weak spot. It's more like a 15 to 20% increase, or like 15. It's still good for like big hitting weapons like shivs, or like crowbar, or like basically anything that does a lot of weak spot damage. You can pick this up. It works on melee and ranged. I would give this a solid 7 out of 10. You can pick this up if you have an extra point in your melee builds and your range builds. Unload. Reloading your ranged weapon grants plus 2% range damage for 7 seconds, and each 10% of the magazine spent during the duration grants plus 2 additional range damage. So this is really good for any weapon that you plan on mag dumping with. Shotguns, dual auto guns, dual auto pistols, auto guns. It's really good for that types of weapon where you spend your magazine really fast, so you get the additional range damage really quickly. And unlike, like, for example, Quick and Deadly, this doesn't have a distance limit. So keep in mind, unload doesn't work for damage over time effects, but it's really good for just straight up shooting and killing something. Don't pick this when you have a needle pistol. Pick this when you have regular range weapons. I would say it's weaker than, like, for example, in your face. So I'll give this like a 6 out of 10, but it's worth picking up if you're coming down from here. Don't pick up hypercritical, come down and like grab Vulture Smug if you're going for a range build. And ramping backstabs. Backstabs grant 10% melee strength, stacks 5 times. Regular melee hits will instead remove all stacks. Really useless. I think the only way this will work is when you're trying to kill a boss that's on somebody on your team, but at that point, you probably have Rampage or something, and you really don't need this on top. It's basically useless in like normal combat, and I would give this like a 3 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10. So let's go down to the middle. I will talk about keystones later. Punching above one's weight, plus 15% damage versus elites and monstrosity is very straightforward. It's additive damage for any elite and monstrosity. It's quite good. 8 out of 10. Probably a good pick for most of the range or melee builds. Maybe 9 out of 10. This spot a scratch. Replenish 30% toughness over 3 seconds after taking toughness damage, range toughness damage. And if you lose all your toughness, you cannot gain the effect. So, very useful. As I said, this class is already lacking ways of generating toughness. So, anything we can get for toughness generation is really good for this class. So, this makes you be able to push gunners. This makes you be able to run away from gunners. It's really good. You always pick this one. The 10 out of 10. You want to combine this with Burst of Energy, at least like 8 out of 10 times. Burst of Energy is really good. You get stun immunity for 6 seconds, and then you get plus 50% toughness if your toughness ever gets broken. So this keeps cycling. The problem is this doesn't give you slowdown immunity. So if you get hit by a melee attack while you're doing this, you will still get slowed down. Stun immunity doesn't make you slowdown immune. But it's still nice. 10-second cooldown is not that long. It's pretty much like one of the not many ways of gaining toughness back on this class, so it's a must pick. I would say it's like a solid 10 out of 10. Battering strikes, melee kills grant 10% melee cleave for 5 seconds, stack 5 times. Really useful. This class needs cleave, and this basically provides it. It's one of the best cleave talents this class can get. Like it's solid. It's a 9 out of 10. Hyper violence. Oh boy. So this is a little hard to explain, but try to stay with me. So kills grant plus 25% of the difference between the damage dealt by your attack and the health of the killed enemy as melee damage. So this means, let's say you killed an enemy with 1 HP and you dealt 1001 damage to the enemy, right? So you will that 1000 damage overkill gets calculated in hyperviolence and gives you a plus 250 damage, flat damage on your next attack or the next guy that you hit. And what this does is, if you can get an overkill damage, get like a bigger buff than 250, you will get a higher hyperviolence buff for the next guy that you're gonna hit. So it will keep scaling up and up and up and up and up until you cannot get the overkill and it resets. So this is really good for fast attacking weapons. For example, this is insanely good for light attack shivs. Especially for light attack shivs. Don't sleep on this. Other than that, if you're planning on using slow weapons like Crowbar, I don't think it's that good. So keep that in mind because of its 1 second cooldown. Like if you can't hit and reset the hyperviolence, you can't make it grow bigger. So if you're planning on using shivs, I would say give them a shot, especially on shivs. It's a solid 8 out of 10, I would say. For the melee brawler playstyle. It scales really well with melee buffs. Hive Brawler, up to 20% damage reduction, depending on available stamina. Additionally, up to 20% melee damage, depending on spent stamina. 100% pick, 10 out of 10. It's not up to debate. You want to have this on your build. It's really good. Battering momentum, hitting 3 or more enemies with a single melee attack grants 50% cleave for your next melee attack. It's a weaker version of battering strikes and pulverizing strikes for me. I don't really pick this up. If you feel like you need a little bit of extra cleave after picking these two up, you might want to go for it, but when the other two exists, I don't see why you should take this. I would say it's like a 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10. Next talent, loose formation plus 75% coherence radius. I say the only use for this is like having a bigger radius for your gunslinger improved talent, but it's really not needed. I would never pick this up. I don't think you should either, so it's a 2 out of 10. Extra pouches plus 1 blitz charges, really good for a rocket launcher, really good for cam grenade, really not that good for blackout grenade because it can replenish itself. It's a 6 out of 10 because it's kind of conditional. Coated weaponry, melee critical strikes infect enemies with 1 stack of chem toxin. Really good on fast attacking weapons like Shiv, really good on weapons that can crit well like Combat Blade. Really good on the toxin stacking weapons like the Bonso. I would pick this up if you want to have chem synergies on your build. It's a 7 out of 10. Sample collector. Kills replenish 1% of your stim cooldown, and killing chem toxin infected enemies instead replenishes 2%. 9 out of 10. If you want to have faster chems, you pick this up. Unfortunately, with how Fat Shark made Stim Lab, the stims have very long cooldown for what they do. So this talent is really good to pick up to basically negate the long cooldowns a little bit. It scales really well with stim supply and practice deployment. It's just a really good pickup, 9 out of 10. Excuse me. Pocket Toxin. Blitz explosions infect enemies with 3 stacks of chem toxin. So this is your rocket launcher explosion. This is your flashbang explosion, so 3.5 meters. This is the initial explosion on the chem grenade, so it doesn't repeatedly give the 3 stacks. It's really damn good on flashbangs, and it's really not that good on cam grenade and boom bringer. So only bring this if you want to grab flashbangs really. And with flashbangs, 3 stacks of chem toxin is crazy because even on Havoc 40, 3 stacks of chem toxin will melt through an unarmored and flak horde. It will have some trouble with infested, but it will still deal a large chunk of health damage to them, so you can kill them easier. I would say it's 5 out of 10, only because it basically doesn't work with 2 blitzes. But when it does, it works really well. Flashbangs. Toxin Mania, plus 5% base damage for each chem toxin infected enemy nearby, up to 15%. It's base damage, so it's less valuable to me than additive damage buffs, but it's still good. You want to pick this up if you go for coated weaponry, if you have chem toxin synergies, if you have stim pistol, those types of things. It's nice if you have chem grenades, if you have pocket toxin, it will give you a solid damage buff. It's a 7 out of 10. Targeted toxin, enemies you infect with chem toxin deal plus 15% damage, most societies instead deal minus 30. It's really situational. I never use this. I don't think you should either. I would say it's like a 3 to 4 out of 10. It's probably worth investing in other things. Toxic Renewal. Replenish 15% toughness when an enemy infected by chem toxin is killed by a melee attack. So you gotta keep in mind that if chem toxin itself kills the enemy, you won't get the buff. So only go for this when you're going for like coated weaponry synergies to get like more toughness gain from your builds, especially if you feel like your toughness gain is lacking with just precision violence. It's a good extra bit of toughness gain for any chem inflicting weaponry. It's a solid 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 maybe, 8 out of 10 because it's a toughness replenishment talent, but I don't use it too much. You need to try it out for yourself to understand. Now let's talk about the keystones, the best part. So Vulture's Bark. If you kill a special or elite enemy with a ranged weapon, it gives you a stack of Vulture's Mark for 8 seconds, stacks 3 times, and every stack grants 5% range damage, 5% crit strike chance, 5% movement speed. And when you're at max stacks, if you kill a special or elite with range kills, you get 15% toughness to everybody in your coherence, including you. So Vulture's Mark is nice. The 8-second cooldown is a little limiting because even if you're at 3 stacks and you can't kill a special elite for 8 seconds, you will completely drop this keystone. So if you have slow killing weapons, you might want to consider that. Otherwise, it's a good range keystone. I would say it's really good to play with like auto pistols. It's really good to use with shotgun builds. It's really good to use with anything that does actual range damage. Now, don't bring this with needle pistol because this won't proc stacks. Vulture's Push, unfortunately it's been neutered a lot before the release. It's really not worth the point. It's 1 out of 10 for me. The knockdown isn't that good. Vulture's dodge. Range crit strikes grant immunity to all attacks. This means you're dodging range attacks and melee attacks for 1 second when you get a range crit hit. And this is like separate from the stacks. You don't have to have stacks for this to proc. Insane keystone modifier. 11 out of 10. If you have a fast shooting weapon, you're immune to literally everything as long as you just keep shooting your gun. While you're in this, you will keep proccing your extra crit chances as well to get more crit hits. It's kind of crazy how this is a talent. I would say it's 11 out of 10. Very, very useful with certain setups. It's not so useful in others, but it's worth picking up in most cases. Patient Hunter. Duration of Vulture's Marks is extended to 12 seconds. If you feel like your build cannot kill elites and specials fast enough to replenish the stacks, I would say you should take this. It's a solid. I'd say it's solid. You can get like some extra good value just by not dropping Vulture's Mark. Now, Adrenaline Frenzy. By the way, Vulture's Mark is a 9 out of 10. Adrenaline Frenzy. Adrenaline hits grant you a stack of adrenaline, and the critical melee hits grant +1. Not gaining a stack within 2 seconds will remove a stack. At 30 stacks, you remove all stacks of adrenaline and gain Adrenaline Frenzy. And Adrenaline Frenzy grants 10% attack speed and 25% melee damage in the last 10 seconds. I don't like this keystone, guys. Unfortunately, for this keystone to be good, you have to pick up at least 2 side nodes. And I don't like investing that much into my keystone most of the time. Like at least 2-3 side nodes. You gotta pick up the base keystone and then you gotta pick up like 3 side nodes. Like for example, you can play Vulture's Mark with a range build with only 1 keystone modifier, but you can't do that in Adrenaline Frenzy. So this base keystone is good if you have a crit scaling weapon, like Shivs. But if you want to get extra value, always get Stalked Rage. The 10 to 20 second upgrade is really nice to keep up Adrenaline Frenzy going. But other than that, Weak Spot 1 is really nice to keep the stacks up, but the keystone itself is like a 6 out of 10, so all of these are like not really that good. This is a solid 8 out of 10. This is a 7 out of 10. This is a good toughness gain, like a 7 out of 10. This is not that good. I would say it's like a 5 out of 10. And this is like a 2 out of 10. I don't think you should get this. Just get the Weak Spot 1. So yeah, I don't like this keystone too much. Chemical Dependency. Using a stem grants you a stack of dependency for 90 seconds. For each stack, you gain 10% ability cooldown reduction, up to 3 max stacks, and stacks decay 1 at a time. So, very overpowered keystone. The best keystone. Keep in mind, using shared Steam effect with Steam Supply doesn't give you a stack of Chemical Dependency. I don't know why, but you just don't get the stack. So keep that in mind when you're making a build. This keystone is an 11 out of 10. Very useful keystone. You get lots of ability cooldown reduction. You get crit chance for each stack. This is a 10 out of 10 modifier, by the way. Really nice. Pick this up. You have Chem Fortified, which is like 5% toughness damage reduction. You get up to 15 and 20 if you pick this top one. So really nice. I would say it's like solid 9 out of 10 because this class is lacking toughness damage reduction. Pick this up. And maxed out gems means if you have a stim, if you can like stim faster and like keep your stacks at 4, you get these benefits, and you get them at 40%, like 40% ability cooldown. You get 20% crit chance, 20% toughness damage reduction. Crazy. This is a solid 8 out of 10 because it doesn't work with every single build, but it works. When it works great. Ooh, well, that's all of the talents and like the situations that you would use them in. Now I want to talk about the 3 builds that I had for you guys and go over why, how to play them. So basically, for this first one, I made this melee build with these shivs with mobility dump, 25 Kappas unyielding uncanny strike flesh terror. With needle pistol, you should probably dump stability if you like your mobility more, but I dumped mobility. I have reload speed, unyielding desperado strip down on this with toughness, max HP toughness gunners, toughness, and stamina. You can always put ability cooldown instead of max health here. And here's the build. I won't go over too much into why I picked every choice because I talked about them already. But basically, this build is utilized for diving. Basically, overextend in front of your teammates and try to dive the enemy front line. It's really, really useful for just getting the first engagements done. It's really useful when you're the one like trying to kill every enemy to keep your rampage up. And The right side basically guarantees you get like lots of ability cooldown, lots of crit chance, and the pocket toxin is for flashbangs. So when you use them, you get a lot of value out of them. And the main thing about this is the stim lab. So as you can see, I'm going with the max cooldown with melee kills. And I have 2 points into barrage that makes my cooldown 51%. So why this stim particularly? The way the gameplay works for this build is, let's say you pop your rampage, and then you like stop, and then you start killing people. So the rampage should drop. When rampage drops, the idea is you stim immediately to get that cooldown regen going, and then you keep killing things, right? And the idea is to basically cycle to your ability as fast as you can with the stim. You keep the stim until you're out of rampage, and you use it as soon as you can. And then you just keep meleeing enemies until they all die. So it's really useful for that. I would say give this build a shot. I think it's my favorite melee build, and I want to know what you guys can do with it. If you want, you can drop like some extra nodes from down here and like get to pickpocket and just keep shooting with this build as well. Up to you. And this is my range build. This is gonna be a Desperado build with dual auto pistols, with flak range crit chance, blaze away, speed load. You can always put carapace on this to be able to get through carapace faster, because this weapon struggles with carapace. Then we have shivs, the same shivs that I was using, Uncanny Flesh Terror, and basically the same curios on every single build. The talent tree is for maximizing range damage and mobility. And we have camp grenades for mass clear if we need to, and like armor killing. And we have Desperado with pick your targets with Vulture's dodge. And we have these middle ones, basically mandatory. And then we come down to have sample collector, because our stim is gonna be a top maxed rending stim. So combined with pick your targets and Fury 2, and if you also get 25 carapace on this weapon instead of crit chance or flak, you can basically drill through carapace if you just land headshots. It's really funny. When you have your stim effect going, you can kill carapace enemies. So just mag dump everything and kill an elite or special when your ammo is low. If you completely run out of ammo, just grab your melee weapon and stab an elite or special and get your ammo back. It's really useful. Really, really, really damn good. Just give this a shot. And for my third build, we have a right side build with right ability build with shivs, a double barrel shotgun with stats like this. You can change the stats however you want, but Man-Stopper Fletchhead is really good. One thing you can do is go with Scattershot instead of Fletchhead for 100% crit chance basically always. And same curios as the other ones. And this build is here because I generally use this build for mag dumping with my double barrel. And the gameplay is you just drop your stim supply and get the buff and just keep shooting. Just keep shooting as fast as you can. And we have the sample collector for increased, for easier access to my stim. And what this does is basically you stim, you ult, and then just shoot. And if you have QQ cancelling, you can do that. Yeah, really fun. Play around with it, see how it feels for you. That's all I'm gonna talk about today, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if you disagree with like anything I said in the video in the comments. I hope all of you have a great day, and I hope I see you in Darktide later. Enjoy the game. Have a good one. See ya.